This is Youth Marketing Academy, Wednesday, October 10th. Ghani, Kunto, and Graham Brown with you, talking about the gorilla in the room. Hi, Graham. How are you doing?
Doing great, Ghani. How are you?
Yeah, doing great also. So, Graham, there's this classic psychological experiment on attention and awareness that involves a gorilla entering a room. And you use a version of this in your presentations. And I think it's quite interesting, the points that you bring up from that video that I think it's worth sharing here in this show. So maybe I'll let you describe it.
Okay. So the psychology experiment that it's based on is originally by Simons, and it's really about how the brain fools us, and also about everyday illusions. And that is that we tend to think that we see the world as it is, but what this gorilla experiment shows to us is that we see the world as we think it is. It's a constructed reality, if you like. So to talk about the actual video itself, is you go to YouTube and Google it. I mean, the one that I use is the dancing bear. It's called the moonwalking bear, but the original experiment was the invisible gorilla.
Mm.
And basically, what happens is you're told to pay attention to something happening on the screen, and in this instance, it's a team of basketball players passing a ball. You're told to count how many passes, and whilst people are actually watching the video, a guy in a guy in a bear outfit will come across the screen and moonwalk across the screen right in front of everybody's view. And you ask people how many passes did they make, and most people get it right and say 13. And then you say, "Did you see the moonwalking bear?" And people say, "What? I didn't see it." And then you show them the video again, and they all laugh because they can't believe a guy in a moonwalking bear outfit just came across the screen, and it's right there in front of their noses.
Mm.
So, what's really interesting about this experiment, it really gives us some insights into how our brain works, and importantly, how we see the world.
Mm. Mm. A lot of people when they see this, like if you go to YouTube and then Google it, these type of experiments, the simple conclusion is that well, people suck at paying attention. But that's not
Uh,
really the point, is it?
well, no, I think that there's attention selective, and that has profound implications for marketing today. Because where were we with marketing 20, 30 years ago? And even now it's been used, but hasn't really been updated to this sort of attention based marketing. And we're sort of looking at traditional awareness based marketing. And look at awareness, everything was based on awareness. They measured awareness. TV ads was about awareness, top of mind, and so on.
Mm.
But today it's rather a different ball game. It's you could be aware of something. Like, for example, you could be in your front room in the house, and you could have the TV on in the background. You could be aware of that, but you may not be paying attention to it. And
Mm.
that's like marketing today, and
Mm.
especially for young people, because they're subject to so many different medias that they have to be selectively attending to only one of these mediums, right?
Mm. 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 Yeah, it's amazing actually. Come to think of it, just how geared towards awareness our like most marketing strategies are. It's all about being interesting, right? Getting the best
Mm.
known celebrity or making the loudest type of the loudest type of commercials, like literally and figuratively. I remember like a while back, there was an experiment that caught on among marketers, and they actually tried it on TV when they make these advertisings that are just really really interruptive. You would watch TV, and then suddenly you just cuts directly into the advertising, and there's just like flashing lights and the logo of the brand. I don't even remember what the brand is. I just remember it was annoying, and I think that's what's happening with a lot of these things, right? You're kind of aware of something, but you're not paying attention to it. You don't even remember what it is. Like a lot of beer commercials, for example, right?
Mm.
They have the women, scantily clad women jumping up and down, right? And that's what you remember. You don't remember what beer brand it is.
It's kind of an evolutionary arms race of attention, isn't it?
Mm.
And the good example of that is that, we're talking, say, maybe 10, 20 years ago when you first started seeing those charity quote unquote muggers on the streets. You know, the students with the clipboards and say, "Hi, have you got a minute? I want
Mm,
to talk to you about this." And you know, and they first were out, they're very successful because it hadn't been done and it was in your face, and people, you know, felt compelled to stop and talk to these people. But you know, the sort of within, you know, months, people started avoiding these people on the streets, right? And now they're, you know, I don't know whether they're successful or not, but you just don't see enough people talking to these guys on the street. So they, you know, it's that evolutionary arms race that actually the advantage offered by this medium will wear out, and it'll be a,
mm,
you know, zero sum game.
And talking about evolution, then it means people need to evolve. They need to do something different, not just do the same thing again and again, or more of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, if the game of awareness is about being interesting, then the game of attention, how do we win that one? How do Because we can't just be more interesting. We have to be.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's got to change. You can't just keep upping the ante, can you? You can't have less and less scantily clad women or louder and louder ads. You know, it has to end somewhere. And the sort of the shift in the evolution occurs when there's a disruption. And this disruption is when you are able to go and engage fans, customers in a conversation, but not have a conversation with the customers, not making that mistake, but you know, helping them have a conversation with each other. And a good example of that is, you know, uh, take photographs, right? You know, and the classic example of seeing people post photographs on Facebook, and you're only really interested in those photographs which feature yourself, right? You're only really interested when that little red notification fairy pops up and says, "Hey, you know, look, you know, Ghani's posted a photo of you or tagged you in a photo."
Mm,
You know, you
mm,
look through the photos for the one that have got you in it, and I think that's kind of the way that young people look at marketing today. They're always asking that question: "Where am I in this story?"
It's about relevance, isn't it? I mean, like, you need it needs to be. Well, first of all, it can't be the story. I'm sorry, it can't be the brand story that you're pushing forward. As we've been talking about in previous episodes, it has to be the young person's story, right? That's the youth story, because then
Mm,
that's one way to be relevant. And I guess the other way is the other thing is that it's not about being louder, but it's about having the right people talking about their stories, which is, well, in this case we were talking about fans and things like that. So I think that's the other point here. Um, if a brand or if a company is trying to make that switch from being focused on awareness, because a lot of the times that's what they're measuring, that's what their boss wants them to measure, like people in these brands. How do you make the switch to being focused on attention, making the switch between from being just focusing on being interesting to
mm.
being relevant?
So the question is, how do you make the switch? Well,
Yeah, yeah.
the key is really to, you know, increase the level of exposure to the fans of your product, and that really means getting out of the corporate ivory tower and into the universe where these fans exist, right? And you'll realize that the more time that you spend there, whether that's in their community, at their events, you know, where they hang out, the more you realize that awareness really is irrelevant. You know, it goes back to the old adage, you know, when was the last time you bought a Cadillac? You know, you're aware of the brand Cadillac, but you're not paying attention to that brand in your life, right? And I think the starting point is understanding that from the perspective of your customer. And that really starts from, you know, leaving your own seat and, you know, getting into their world. That's the starting point. If you're asking how, the first step is the biggest step, and that is getting out there. You know, once you're out there, then you can put into place the right kind of marketing, which we talk about in the Youth Marketing 101, which is about building permission assets in the front line. But to get there, you've really got to understand first that you know, young people don't wake up thinking about your brand anymore, and you know, that's something that we've got to get over.
All right, Graham. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Johnny.
All right, so that's it for today's show of Youth Marketing Academy. Make sure you check us out on youthmarketingacademy.com to see our previous episodes and our upcoming episodes. All right, this is Ghani Kunto. Saying goodbye. See you tomorrow. Take care.